Hi everyone, today we're going to look at the best lands in MTG Premodern, a format that spans so many sets, naturally has a huge variety of cards, different cycles, different mechanics. As we have seen in the set reviews, almost every set includes at least one cycle of non-basic lands, man lands, pain lands, fetch lands, mana denial. We see that on a daily basis. Lands can do a lot for you. Fixing your mana base is just scratching the surface, and in this video you can expect a lot of utility. So we're going to look at the top 10 land cycles and the top 10 individual lands, plus honorable mentions. I want to include as many relevant stuff as possible. So in this division, land cycles generally help fix the mana base of multicolored decks, while single lands tend to have unique effects and often act as the backbone of specific archetypes. Rainbow lands also appear here, because when a land taps for all colors, it becomes a standalone powerhouse in its set. It's no surprise, everything starts with mana, and lands determine what you can, and especially what you cannot, do consistently. Having an additional effect, especially beyond producing colored mana. Not only colorless, we're talking about a specific effect plus colored mana is a huge bonus. In fact, many of the strongest lands don't produce colored mana as a drawback. So let's start with the honorable mentions for land cycles. These are somewhat weaker, but still useful for specific decks. For example, Battle of Wits, which runs around 100 lands and must settle for second tier options. Mirage slow fetch lands, widely outclassed by the Onslaught fetch lands. Speaking of Onslaught, tribal lands. These have cute effects, but see very little play except maybe an Holy Grotto in zombie decks and Starlit Sanctum in life decks. Wonderful cards, but usually not worth the colorless mana. Dark Encampment is playable because its effect is cheap and the deck is likely to be mono-white, but even then, Wasteland, Mishra's Factory and Rishadan Port overshadow it. Then we have some pain lands, but they enter the battlefield tapped. These are from Tempest, widely outclassed by Invasion's tap lands. In Odyssey we have the Sacrifice lands, which enter tapped and offer a one-time mana fixing. So far, Seafloor Debris, the blue one, sees a bit of play, not exciting. They can also be used in Balancing Act, balancing things. Next, Ice Age Snow Duels. You basically cannot use these lands 2 turns in a row. Undiscovered Paradise is appreciated because it gives 1 mana of any color every turn, even if it bounces itself. Here, the land stays in play, so you don't lose the land drop. But on the other hand, you can use Undiscovered Paradise every turn, so you have access to whatever color you want every turn. So these lands aren't terrible, but Undiscovered Paradise is widely used mainly because it produces 5 colors. This cycle forces you into choosing between 2. Invasion Signet lands, these are the backbone of balancing things, otherwise not very efficient fixing. They are comparable to the Fallen Empire cycle, reprinted in 5th edition, also used in Balancing Act. They can be useful for some combo decks, so they have a niche in Premodern. However, the lands from Fallen Empires provide a specific mana, which is usually what you're looking for, like double blue. Then Urzatron lands, we loved these as kids. In Premodern you can assemble Tron thanks to crop rotation, Living Wish, maybe Mulch, so you can build a gimmick deck around them, but the payoffs aren't worth it. The format is simply too fast. The main payoffs are Snake Basket, Decree of Justice, Fireball style cards, maybe Mishra's Helix. The real problem is that even monocolored decks have better lands. 5 playsets of lands that we'll inevitably see in the top 10. One of the best land cycles is from Alliances, the Alliances sack lands. You sacrifice a basic land in order to get a stronger land in play. They are all different: Balduvian Trading Post and Soldevi Excavations, will provide 2 mana, the other lands will provide just 1. Souldevi Excavations is the strongest with built-in scry, but it sees no play, unlike Kildorn Outpost. Today it's the most expensive after League of the Dead. To conclude the honorable mentions, we have a cycle that does see play, though usually in small numbers, the layer lands from Plane Shift, used mainly in their respective 3 colors deck, more rarely in 2 color decks. You run few copies because the drawback is significant, especially with Wasteland and land destruction around. Their upside lies in some synergies, using Serra's Sanctum twice by bouncing it, while you have Expedition in play, so you can play it again and tap it for mana for a second time. Also, layer lands will reset Gemstone 9, and once the drawback is paid, you can get a 3 color land with no damage. To fully appreciate these lands, Landfall would help, and in Premodern we do have some proto-landfall cards like Horn of Greed. That deck plays many lands, and it also draws many cards, so it's rarely short on lands, but still. Now we enter the top 10. For the 10th best land cycle, I chose the Tainted Lands. They work if you have at least one swamp in play, so black pairs with one of the other colors. It's a strange cycle because it's 4 cards, not 5, with black always present. They're awkward in deck buildings and mulligans. On turn 1 they produce only colorless mana. You must play many swamps, giving up other non-basic lands. For green and white you can't play fetch lands, which hurts. However, once you have a swamp in play, these lands are very good. In 9th place, colorless cycling lands, not played much because the Onslaught ones are better, but they are essential for Fluctuator, a real piece of history. Eighth place, Invasion Tapland Duels, one of the fair ways to fix a 2-color mana base, maybe making room for Mishra's Factory. They're not meant to be played as a full playset, but they're still solid cards. Coastal Tower can appear in land still. 7th place, Mercadian Masks Depletion Lands. Great for combo decks. They enter tapped, but they'll give you 2 turns of acceleration. 6th place, Onslaught Cycling Lands. They can be cycled for 1 mana, played in some control decks like Black-White and obviously Astroslide, synergistic with Terravor and theoretically with Threshold cards or creatures like Psychotog or Grim Lavamancer. 5th place, Odyssey Threshold Sacrifice Lands. These have color-specific effects, with Barbarian Ring being the most common in mono-red Sly, basically a free shock. Cephalid Coliseum is another key land, historically played in Legacy and Vintage as a graveyard combo engine, and in Premodern it appears in several decks, Iggy Pop above all. Cabal Pit is Disfigure, Centaur Garden is Giant Growth, Nomad Stadium will give you for life. 4th place, more Odyssey, the Filter Lands, not the best. On turn 1 they don't produce mana at all, and they only give mana in pairs, one of each color, but in practice they are good lands and they don't deal damage to you. Some copies appear in 2 or 3 color decks, especially Replenish and Goblins. Now the podium, Urza Block Manlands, Revolution. Lands becoming creatures wasn't new, Mishra's Factory was and remains the best manland, but tying them to colors was new. Extra abilities like Flying and Trample appeared. Indeed, the 2 best lands of the cycle are Treetop Village, number 1, a 3/3 for 2 mana and Fairy Conclave. Spawning Pool and Forbidding Watchtower are good blockers. The latter is probably the weakest of the cycle, but still sees play in Landsteal and mono-white control. Gito Encampment is used in mono-red slower decks. Runner-up, Pain Lands. The ability to produce colorless mana without damage makes them much stronger than City of Brass for 2 or 3 color decks. Over the years we have seen countless dual lands with drawbacks. Back then, and in Premodern, this is the closest thing to perfect fixing, like dual lands, absolutely essential. And of course, in first place fetch lands, not much to say, they fix your mana base, thin your deck, fuel threshold, grow Terravore, feed Grimlavamancer or Psychotog, synergize with Sylvan Library, they do everything. A deck like that Gael shows you immediately what it means to be without them. Now we move to single lands. Many tributes to pay, tons of iconic lands in MTG that don't find a home in Premodern. First that comes to mind, Lake of the Dead, may be useful for hatred. Lotus Veil, too easy to destroy, building things takes a while, destroying is way faster. Maybe it's playable in Stasis. Scorched Ruin, similar case. Along with these, I would mention Deserted Temple, which has amazing synergies with Just Cradle or Serra's Sanctum. Deserted Temple is a mind-blowing card, a built-in Candelabra of Thanos. Glacial Chasm, a unique effect, steadily rising in price, played in land decks, turbo lands. Teferi's Isle, used in Storm or Stasis. Stalking Stones, a peculiar man land. You animate it once and you're done. Still, it's expensive, and Stalking Stones will be vulnerable to sorcery speed removal and wrath effects. Next, Temple of the False God, sometimes used in blue-white control to cast Exalted Angel, Eternal Dragon or Decree of Justice. Hard to justify the drawback, but tempting. Cross Verge, a bit slow, but it generates card advantage. Then we have other white-green lands, Riftstone Portal and Nantuko Monastery. I think Riftstone Portal is a bit of a trap. It doesn't produce colored mana on turn 1, and it must be in the graveyard for a marginal benefit. Nantuko Monastery, on the other hand, is a good card, the biggest man land of the era, a 4/4 with first strike. You need Threshold, but the reward is huge. Both are starting to see play in slower green-white decks like Mirari's Wake and Astroslide. Yavimaya Hollow, a beautiful card with a great ability, but the usual issue applies. There are many very strong colorless lands with more relevant abilities. Still a wonderful card, especially useful against Mono-Red Sly. Then Ice Flow, similarly to Maze of Ith, stops Phyrexian Dreadnought, Terravore, and other threats. It doesn't even care about Sabo's Web. Stifle Knot's main answer to Corhaven. Wonderful tech until they add Wasteland to their deck, which would make perfect sense. Now I can already imagine all the big sellers and speculators aggressively buying every copy of this card. Hundreds of 5-cent cards eaten by rodents or passed through the digestive system of a large elephant, gone overnight. I hope I'm not that influential. Cabal Coffers, strictly for mono black, very restrictive. Tranquility, I think this is a bit underrated. It's played in slivers and survival decks. It's risky but rewarding if you keep creatures on board. Thawing Glaciers, classic control card. Then Forsaken City, perfect fit for Stasis. Reflecting Pool, played in small numbers. Not the land you want to see in your opening hand, but useful to stop paying life with Painlands or City of Brass. Grand Coliseum, this is a City of Brass that enters the battlefield tapped and can produce colorless, appreciated in blue-white-red. Crystal Vein, a significant upgrade over the Fallen Empire's lands that enter the battlefield tapped. This one enters untapped. Undiscovered Paradise, one of the rainbow lands. The drawback is annoying, but a few copies are useful. Gemstone Mine, probably the best rainbow lands for fast decks or decks that are happy to see it in the graveyard, like Terrageddon. Then High Market, a sacrifice outlet and part of the combo in life decks. Next, Phyrexian Tower, probably the best sack outlet ever printed. played in many formats, less in pre-modern. Final honorable mention, Warrat's Stronghold, a fantastic land, played in the Rock and other black decks, great also in Dracoboom with Erratic Explosion. It works well with Clerics, Gamekeeper, Gempalm or Looter, Gempalm Incinerator, or any enter the battlefield, leave the battlefield effect. So many cards to mention, I surely forgot some, let me know your favorites. Some of them might be in the top 10 though, which we are about to see. 10th place, Korhaven, a land I've always loved, a sort of Maze of Ith that also taps for mana, underplayed in pre-modern, excellent in Terrageddon. 9th place, Dust Bowl. If Wasteland is the fastest way to destroy non-basic lands, Dust Bowl is the way to do it repeatedly, better for slow decks, while Wasteland is more of an aggro mid-range tool. 8th place, Seat of Brass, a land that hurts you but gives you any color, an auto-inclusion for greedy decks since 1993. 7th position, City of Traitors, one of the two main Sol Ring lands, harsh drawback but it accelerates many strategies. Number 6, Rishadan Port, a land that denies mana even from basic lands, a different function from Dust Bowl and Wasteland. It costs mana and it doesn't destroy things permanently, but it's unique. 5th place, Mishra's Factory, the best mana land in the format. 1 mana for a 2-2, even a 3-3 when blocking. Can be pumped by other factories. Simply absurd, probably the best mana land ever, certainly the most efficient. Mutavault is the closest thing. Celestial Colonnade is a Serra Angel but costs much more and enters tapped. 4th place, Ancient Tomb, the other land that produces 2 colorless mana. Similar function, different drawback, one of the strongest lands in the format. Hard to believe there are better ones, but there are. 3rd place, Wasteland, not proactive but format defining, a 0 mana spell that punishes weak mana bases and stops the unfair lands, the next 2. Runner-up, Serra Sanctum, a land that shines only in Enchantress, a one-trick pony, but what it does extremely well. Not much else to say except it's the most expensive card in Enchantress, says it all. 1st place clearly belongs to Jascrodel, the strongest land in the format and one of the best in the history of the game. There are very few better lands, like Library of Alexandria. Used mainly in Elves, but any green deck is happy to have it. Its additional merit, if that makes sense, is that it's not too strong, unlike Tolarian Academy, which would be banned instantly. With Jascrodel, we close in style. As always, thanks for staying with me until the end. Let me know your favorite lands, and I'll see you next time.